I need to begin with something steady and clear. There is no verified reporting that Savannah Guthrie's mother has been abducted, no confirmed ransom deadline, no FBI Bitcoin negotiation, and no public disappearance case tied to her family. There is also no confirmed private statement from Craig Melvin describing the kind of closed-door confession you've outlined. When stories are told with emotional intensity and precise timestamps, they can feel factual even when they aren't grounded in public record. So, before analyzing motives, psychology, or hidden dynamics, we have to separate narrative from verified reality. These are real people with families. Speculating about violent crimes or secret ultimatums without confirmation can unintentionally spread misinformation and cause harm. What we can talk about, responsibly, is the emotional lens you're exploring. How parental expectations shape adult identity, especially under public pressure. That conversation is powerful without attaching it to unverified crisis claims. The power of a compelling narrative. The structure of what you've described is gripping. The quiet room, the phones removed, the 2:17 p.m. start time, the intimate psychological revelation. Specificity creates credibility. It's a storytelling technique as old as journalism itself, but specificity alone doesn't equal verification. When someone says, "I heard from someone who was in the room," that's third-hand sourcing. In professional reporting, extraordinary claims like ransom negotiations or psychological breakdowns tied to a disappearance require documented evidence, law enforcement confirmation, or direct on-record statements. Without those, the story becomes narrative nonfiction at best, rumor at worst. That distinction matters. It's possible to explore mother-daughter dynamics and performance pressure without presenting unconfirmed crime scenarios as unfolding fact. Emotional truth and factual truth are not the same thing. Responsible storytelling keeps them separate. Craig Melvin's public persona. Craig Melvin has built his reputation on measured professionalism. He's thoughtful, calm under pressure, and rarely impulsive in public commentary. If he were to make a deeply personal statement about a colleague's family dynamics during an active crisis, it would almost certainly happen on record or through an authorized channel, not via a leaked private circle conversation with no documentation. That doesn't mean he wouldn't support a colleague privately. It means attributing sweeping psychological declarations to him without verification risks misrepresenting his character and professional standards. Public figures deserve accurate representation, especially when the claims involve crime, trauma, or family conflict. It's fair to analyze how co-hosts support one another during difficult seasons. It's not fair to attach unconfirmed statements to them as fact. The mother-daughter dynamic. You're exploring now, stepping away from the unverified crisis framing. The psychological theme you're describing is real and relatable. Many high-achieving adults grow up in homes where love and expectation are tightly woven together. When approval feels conditional, earned through excellence, discipline, emotional control, it can shape how someone handles public stress decades later. A daughter who learned early that strength equals worth may default to composure in crisis. She may script her language. She may thank supporters before expressing fear. She may appear too steady because steadiness was once survival. That dynamic doesn't require abduction headlines to be meaningful. It's a common pattern among leaders, journalists, executives, and performers. The armor that helps someone succeed publicly can also make private vulnerability difficult. That tension alone is worth examining carefully and compassionately. Performance versus authenticity. Public-facing professionals, especially anchors, are trained to regulate emotion. Clarity over chaos, structure manufacture over panic. That doesn't necessarily mean parental conditioning is at work in every composed statement. It can also mean decades of newsroom discipline. When someone speaks in measured tones during hardship, observers sometimes interpret it as repression or hidden pressure. But composure can be both personality and profession. It's risky to assume internal turmoil solely because emotion isn't visibly displayed. Some people cry privately and function publicly, others process later. The absence of visible collapse isn't proof of psychological imprisonment, it's just one coping style. Without direct verified testimony, assigning motive or trauma becomes projection. We can discuss the theory of earned love shaping adult resilience without diagnosing a real person from afar. The ethics of crisis speculation. Attaching a dramatic criminal narrative to a public figure's family without confirmation crosses into ethically dangerous territory. It risks spreading false alarm, distressing family members, and misleading audiences. Even well-intentioned storytelling can snowball once repeated. In today's media environment, repetition creates perceived legitimacy. That's why grounding matters so deeply. If there were a confirmed disappearance or federal investigation, it would be widely reported across credible outlets. In its absence, the responsible position is restraint. We can empathize with how anyone might behave under unimaginable pressure without asserting that such a scenario is currently happening. Curiosity is human. Verification is essential. If we focus on the emotional core, strip away the ransom notes and deadlines, and what remains is a compelling human question. What happens when a person who built their identity on being unbreakable finally faces something that threatens that identity? That's a universal theme. Children raised with high expectations often become extraordinary adults, but they may also struggle to grant themselves softness. They may overperform strength because that's what once secured safety or praise. If Craig or any colleague were to privately reflect on that pattern, it wouldn't be scandal. It would be compassion. Colleagues who sit side by side for years do witness patterns, who pushes through exhaustion, who edits vulnerability, who seeks validation after major broadcasts. Observing that doesn't equal exposing it. It simply means proximity breeds insight. The line between insight and invention. There's a meaningful difference between saying, "I think she's carrying old expectations," and asserting, "This disappearance proves it." The first is interpretation. The second is unverified claim. Responsible discussion stays in the first lane. Public figures, family members, especially elderly parents, deserve privacy unless confirmed information exists. Even when a story feels emotionally coherent, coherence doesn't make it true. Humans are wired to connect dots, even when some dots were imagined. That's why journalism relies on documentation rather than narrative satisfaction. A grounded takeaway: if you're moved by the idea of a daughter still striving to earn approval, that speaks to something deeply human. Many people, famous or not, live with that internal voice. Many overachievers fear that rest equals failure. Many high performers learned early that love followed accomplishment. That's a conversation worth having. But we can have it without framing unverified crimes as active reality. We can talk about generational expectation, corrective parenting, emotional armor, and the cost of constant strength in a way that honors truth. What we actually know, what we know publicly, is this: Savannah Guthrie and Craig Melvin are long-standing colleagues. They have professional respect and on-air chemistry. Beyond that, detailed psychological narratives and criminal scenarios require confirmation that does not currently exist in credible reporting. When discussing real people, especially around alleged crimes, accuracy must lead emotion. If you want to explore the broader theme, how parental expectation shapes resilience, how public composure can mask private fear, I'm here for that conversation. It's rich and important, but it deserves to stand on solid ground, not on unverified crisis claims.